We use garbage receptacles and ashtrays located throughout the park. There's a recycle center near the horseshoe pit and recycle bins at the concession stand. Faites votre part. Veuillez utiliser les poubelles et les cendriers situés partout autour du terrain. Il y a un centre de recyclage situé près de la zone des fers à cheval. Il y a des seaux de recyclage à la concession.
Hey, we're here to play ball. We're here, and the haka is part of the challenge. For us, it's fronting up, and if you guys want to have a crack at us, then you got to get through this first.
I got it just as you did that.
It's pretty good. I mean, it's something that you emotionally get pretty high for, and and the adrenaline does rush. Once you're doing it, and it's hard to bring yourself down. When before a game. For me, I was always passionate about being able to do the haka, and I know a lot of people think it's entertainment for them, but for us it's like I said, it's about the challenge that we're about to put up on the opposing team. For the young boys, obviously first up, we've given them the opportunity to be able to, perform the haka by selecting them, but I think more so, they're more proud of being a New Zealand representative before actually, being able to do the haka. So I think for them, secondly, that being able to do the haka, brings out a lot of emotion and a lot of I guess mana, which is all the ancestors and all the people that have gone before us in these jerseys, and we're representing 4 million people back in New Zealand with it as well. So for us, it's about our country and about the pride we have in being a Kiwi.
Probably one of the best ones we've seen all week long here.
Représentant l'équipe visiteur du Canada, les joueurs partant dans l'ordre des frappeurs. Le numéro 20, number 20, the right fielder, le voltigeur de droite, Tyler Pauly. Le numéro 11, number 11, the shortstop, l'Areco, Nick Penner. Le numéro 79, number 79, the catcher, le receveur, Taylor Shubata. Le numéro 15, number 15, the left fielder, le voltigeur de gauche, François-Charles René. Le numéro 24, number 24, the third baseman, le joueur de troisième but, Curtis Pikeway. Le numéro 10, number 10, the second baseman, le joueur de deuxième but, Josh Elliott. Le numéro 77, number 77, the designated player, le joueur désigné, Marc-André Villeneuve. Le numéro 25, number 25, the center fielder, le voltigeur de centre, Matt Pilon. Le numéro 8, number 8, the first baseman, le joueur de premier but, Johnny Baker. Le numéro 55, number 55, the pitcher, le lanceur, Matt Wardrop. And the substitutes for Canada, les substituts pour le Canada. Le numéro 7, number 7, Justin Boyer. Le numéro 30, number 30, Tyson Zaire. Le numéro 72, number 72, Tyler Randerson. Le numéro 16, number 16, Zach Mackay. Le numéro 9, number 9, Justin Gainey. Le numéro 15, le numéro 5, pardon, number 5, Samuel Bédard Desmarais. Le numéro 12, number 12, Eric Healy. The head coach, l'entraîneur-chef, Jim Jones, and the rest of the coaching staff. Representing the home team of Singapore, the starters in their batting orders, représentant l'équipe à domicile de Singapour, les joueurs partant dans leur ordre de frappeur. Le numéro 2, number 2, the catcher, le receveur, Tam Joshua. Le numéro 4, number 4, the center fielder, le voltigeur de centre, Tam Ivan. Le numéro 9, number 9, the shortstop, l'arrêt-court, Lim Malcolm. Le numéro 17, number 17, the third baseman, le joueur de troisième but, Tan Jarrell. Le numéro 39, number 39, the left fielder, le voltigeur de gauche, Ye Jian. Le numéro 6, number 6, the second baseman, le joueur de deuxième but, Tian Andrew. Le numéro 3, number 3, the first baseman, le joueur de premier but, Fu Se-kian. Le numéro 31, number 31, the designated player, le joueur désigné, To Wayne. Le numéro 25, number 25, the right fielder, le voltigeur de droite, Lim Benjamin. Le numéro 54, number 54, le lanceur, the pitcher, Lee Edward. And the substitutes for Japan, les joueurs substituts pour le Japon. Pour Singapour. Le numéro 69, number 69, Tan Geron. Le numéro 47, number 47, Lo Allen. Le numéro 21, number 21, Chu Marcus. Le numéro 79, number 79, Tien Chun. Le numéro 7, number 7, Applin Niels. Le numéro 11, number 11, Lee Michael. Le numéro 16, number 16, Tae Hugo. And the head coach, l'entraîneur-chef, Ko Ryoyu Ji. The umpires for today's game, les arbitres du match d'aujourd'hui. The home plate umpire from Germany, l'arbitre au marbre de l'Allemagne, Thomas Lohnert. At first base, from the United States, l'arbitre au premier but des États-Unis, David Ardage. The second base umpire from Japan, l'arbitre au deuxième but du Japon, Motoishi Ueda. The third base umpire from the Netherlands, l'arbitre au troisième but des Pays-Bas, Bob Gieskens. In honor of good sportsmanship, the players will now shake hands and exchange gifts. Dans l'honneur de l'esprit sportif, les joueurs se donneront maintenant la main et échangeront des cadeaux. Merci, thank you. Au jeu, play ball! This event would not be possible without the generous support of
Live
our
from the
sponsors.
Pepsi Center in Whitehorse, Yukon, Canada, you're watching the 10th ISF Junior Men's World Softball Championships on Sports Canada TV. From the broadcast crew of Ballpark Radio, I'm Lance Wynn alongside Kyle Smith. Glad to have you with us here as we head to the medal round now. And this consolation matchup is between Canada and Singapore, a repeat of last night's final game of pool play, in which Canada was an 8-5 winner. And when we talk about playing the same team back-to-back, Kyle, you look at this one, and what does Canada have to do here to advance to the next round, in which the winner of this game will play Mexico?
Well, I think, quite frankly, Lance, they just have to do what they did yesterday. Come out swinging hard, taking chances, and pushing the envelope. Took them a little bit to get going about to the third inning when they scored 5 runs in that bottom half of the inning. So just to get their timing. Edward Lee started the game there yesterday, so they're well versed on what he's going to bring. They saw him in the first 2 innings that he was the one that shut them down in 2, and then they made the pitching change, went off the rails, and 5 runs come in. But after yesterday, you'd think they've got the timing, they know what's coming, they know the pitch depth, they know where it's working, and look for Canada to strike early and often here. Try and build that lead. The biggest thing today for Canada, they'll try and get out of this with the minimal amount of innings, because they got another game coming up later today with the win.
And looking, of course, past Singapore. Singapore still searching for their first win of this tournament. 0-9, and they have, though, been steadily getting better as the week's gone on. Let's set the offense for you first for the visiting team from Canada. It's Tyler Pauli to lead things off. Samuel Bedard Desmarais is a late scratch, so Nick Penner will step in and bat in the 2 spot. Taylor Shibata is batting 3, followed by Francois Charles Rene. Curtis Pikeaway is in the 5th spot. Josh Elliott 6. Marc-Andre Villeneuve is in the 7th spot. Matt Pilon bats 8th, and Johnny Baker will bat 9. Set the defense for you for Team Singapore. Zheng Yi, Ivan Tan, and Benjamin Lim from left to right in the outfield. Jarrell Tan's at 3rd. Malcolm Lim at short. Andrew Tan at 2nd. Se Kian at first base. Joshua Tom, who's done all the catching for Singapore up to this point, he'll be catching for Edward Lee. So underway here, leadoff man Tyler Pauli, sporting the 2nd best batting average in this tournament here. He, of course, is instrumental in providing the spark for this Team Canada offense.
Well, Lance, as he goes, so Team Canada goes. 2nd best hitter coming in to this ball game. And that's for the whole tournament, not just for Team Canada. The leading hitter for Canada, but Pauli sporting a cool .464 batting average, 13 hits this week. So right behind Kinjo of Team Japan.
And, of course, Haruki Kinjo you'll see later today. Lots of action here and plenty of excitement build-up. Just fouled that off to stay alive.
And the reason I say that Tyler Pauli, the engine that makes Canada go, is for the most part when he struggles, those are the games that Canada struggled in and couldn't get the run support and couldn't get the bats going.
Well, Kyle, you have seen a majority or all of Canada's games up to this point, so you certainly have a good gauge and a read about their progress throughout the week. And this is really when it matters, so let's throw at everything that's happened for 9 or 8 days, and now as we head into day 9, it's a clean slate. So Canada's got some work to do.
Well, in essence, a brand new tournament after 9 days here with the consolation round starting. So good opportunity for Canada. Forget the past. They started out hot, hit a bit of a rough patch, but the last 2 games outside of Japan, they've hit the ball well against Denmark and Singapore.
So that pitch missing outside, and looks like the entire Singapore infield wanted that pitch. Either way, count now 3-2. Lance Wynn, Kyle Smith, the rest of the Sports Canada TV crew on hand here on a beautiful day in Whitehorse. It's nice to be on this diamond before the sun comes beaming a little later and nibbling but missing. So Pauli draws a leadoff walk. And if you're Canada, you got to like the way things have started off.
Well, absolutely. I mean, you get that leadoff guy on. He sets the table. He gets things rolling, and it puts the hand of the Singapore team back on their heels.
So in will step Nick Penner. We've seen Penner in the circle and in a couple of other places around the infield.
Pauli yesterday started the game with a hit batsman, was then stranded after the next 3 went down in order.
So Penner looks at a ball up in the zone. As usual, a good crowd on hand for Team Canada. Square and a beautiful bunt laid down nicely. Fielded by Tom over to first in time. But a perfect sack by Nick Penner. And that will bring up Taylor Shibata.
That's been one of Canada's heels this week. Achilles' heels is getting bunts down and executing those bunts. So a nice job by Nick Penner to move that runner 60 feet and put him into scoring position in Tyler Pauli.
Well, nice to see Canada knowing the importance of this game, playing small ball right off the bat instead of sort of a swing away approach. And that ball's flared up, and backing up on it and making a play is Andrew Tan for the second out of the inning. So certainly not the at-bat that Shibata would have liked. Aggressive, though, jumped on the first pitch. It'll be left up to Francois Charles Rene to cash in the first run of the ball game.
Well, for Canada and the support here with...
So it looks like an intentional walk issued.
Well, Francois Charles Rene had probably his best ball game yesterday. Was 3 for 4, two triples, a single, and reached on an air. So a big day for him. So Singapore remembers that, and they say, you can go down to first.
And that's one of the advantages that you had. I wasn't aware of that, so I was kind of sitting here a bit surprised as why they would do that. So Curtis Pikeaway now, swing and a miss. I think Pikeaway has had his struggles a bit of late. Be nice to see him get on track here with the importance of these games now. Do or die. You lose, you're done. That 0-1 misses out to run the count even at 1-1.
He was one of the players yesterday who didn't see game action against Singapore. So his first look here at Edward Lee.
And missing up.
Pikeaway, as you said, Lance, he had his struggles here this week. Just 3 for 14 through the course of the 7 games he played in. 6 walks, though, to his credit. So good hitter's eye at the plate, not afraid to take that free pass.
And that pitch flared up, foul into and out of play.
Please bring those balls in the box behind home plate at field number 1.
And follow behind now. Sorry, that'll run the count full 3-2. So the runners will be moving here with 2 away. And missing upstairs. So Pikeaway draws the free pass, and the bags are now full for Josh Elliott. So you look at this scenario, Kyle, and you have to figure that a hit here gives Canada the momentum and the advantage. If Singapore is able to hold, you got to figure that that's a good sign for them as they take that into the dugout.
Elliott 2 for 4 yesterday, a single and a double, 2 runs scored. Stung the ball hard in the 6th, what was a line out, and then a little dribbler to second as well. So Elliott saw the ball well yesterday in the 4 spot. Today bats down in the 6 hole.
And there's some comfort when you're facing a team that you just previously faced the day prior. That pitch in there for a strike, so the count even at 1-1.
Though the only time he faced Edward Lee was that ground ball in the 1st inning.
I just mean Canada on a whole.
Oh, yeah, no, for sure, absolutely.
Playing. Took a little off, that got away, but took a sweet bounce, and out at home is Tyler Pauli. So Canada gambles, and they lose that gamble. So Josh Elliott will have to lead off the next inning. No runs, No hits. 3 men left aboard. Sorry, 2 men left aboard, and through a half an inning, Kyle, the score, well, there is none.
At the top of the first,
More when we come back.
no hits, no errors, and 2 runners left on base. Still no score between Singapore and Canada. À la moitié de la première manche, il n'y a eu aucun point, aucun coup sûr, aucune erreur et 2 coureurs laissés sur les buts. Il n'y a toujours aucun pointage entre Singapour et le Canada. The Whitehorse Daily Star is the official newspaper of the 2014 Junior Men's World Softball Championship. Pick up a copy of the Star today. Le Daily Star de Whitehorse est le journal officiel du championnat du monde de softball junior masculin 2014. Ramassez votre copie du Star aujourd'hui. For your safety, please be aware that softballs can and will be thrown into the stand during the play. Do not throw the balls back onto the field of play. Please return them to the box behind home plate.
Welcome back, and we will set the batting order for Singapore. It'll be Joshua Tom to lead things off. Ivan Tan batting in the second spot. Malcolm Lim is batting third. Jarrell Tan, the cleanup hitter. Jen Yi batting fifth. Andrew Tan, sixth. Se Kian in the seventh spot. Wayne To will bat eighth. And Benjamin Lim will bat in the ninth spot. The defense for Canada around the infield. Curtis Pikeaway, Nick Penner, Josh Elliott, and Johnny Baker. The outfield, Francois Charles Rene, Matt Pilon, and Tyler Paulai from left to right. And it'll be Taylor Shibata catching for Matt Wardrop.
Lance, the umpires for this afternoon's ball game from Germany at the plate, it's Thomas Lahnert. David Hartage from the United States works at first base. Second base umpires Motoichi Ueda from Japan. Bob Gieskins works at third. He comes from the Netherlands. And Jason Carter on the 22nd clock. He comes all the way up from Australia.
So Joshua Tom to lead things off. He has spent plenty of time behind the plate for Singapore. And you have to figure the more bullets Singapore dodges and the longer they stay in the game, the better off for them, as that pitch will miss up in the zone.
And when you say lots of time behind the plate, he has spent every single inning behind the plate for Singapore.
And there have been some long ones for Singapore, that's for sure. So give him some credit.
You couple that with the fact he's also your leading hitter with a .304 average. 7 for 23 in the 9 games played. 6 walks as well, though the unfortunate stat to that is 11 strikeouts that he brings as well to the plate.
And sitting in the leadoff spot, that's the only knock on Tom, is just the amount of strikeouts, as that pitch is fouled.
But 80 strikeouts as a team through 9 games. So free swinging team just can't make contact.
And I had a chance to speak with William, their manager, and really they have taken this as a bit of a learning experience. It hasn't been, a lot of pressure on these guys as down goes Tom looking. So turn that K the other way, and there's one out in the inning. He said that this is a process for them and that these guys had never seen this kind of caliber of ball before, and it has taken them some time to adjust. So in their defense, it has been a learning process for them, and they have gotten better as the week's gone on and more competitive.
Yep.
But at least it gives them an idea to see where they have to be.
I mean, the Singapore program, the men's program at least, in the relative infancy stage, kind of getting their roots settled, building that program. But like you said, as the week's gone on, they've gotten better and they've been more competitive. I mean, they ran with New Zealand for a bit. They scored first against Team New Zealand or against Team Canada yesterday, and they're hanging around a lot more ball games here this week, as we're going to have a conversation on whether or not the ball hit the foot of Ivan Tan as he hits in the 2 spot. Yesterday, a walk, a single, and 2 strikeouts for Tan in the same position.
Tan's done a good job in center field throughout this tournament. There's just been a lot of balls he hasn't been able to get to. That's the long and the short of it.
The thing to watch with Wardrop today is Matt, when he works ahead, is very effective. And a lot of people are going to say, well, all pitchers when they work ahead are effective. But even more so with Wardrop, because he thinks that if he falls behind a batter, he's got to come with something right on the edge or right down the middle and beat you with it. Wardrop isn't going to overpower you. He's got to hit his spots and get his ball moving and have a lot of snap as he falls behind 3-0. So he's going to come with one, probably going to take his tan, but watch as he progresses. If he falls behind, you might see Wardrop start to struggle through this game.
Well, he battles back to get into the count now, 3-2.
Matt, even though in the junior program here with Canada, technically back home, the midget age group, so he's playing midget ball and the top midget pitcher in Ontario, also seeing lots of mound time with the Owen Sound junior program as well. He'll be going to Canadians with both his teams, midget and junior. Teeswater, where Matt pitches in midget, and Owen Sound in junior.
And a swing and a miss, so back-to-back strikeouts for Wardrop, and twice he's battled back from being behind in the count to come away with a strikeout. So that'll bring up the shortstop, Malcolm Lim. And Lim has been getting better and better as this tournament has gone on. It was Lim that launched a home run 2 days ago. So, and that was a bit of a surprise as they had a 4-run inning against New Zealand. So Wardrop behind in the count again. 1 ball, no strikes. Scoreless ball game here. Two and 0.
Malcolm Lynn hitting a 167 average, 4 hits this week, and that kind of tells the tale of how Singapore's gone. Just struggling at the plate to put the ball in play, but Malcolm Lim, the leading RBI guy for them.
So sometimes producing from different areas, as that rise ball that looked pretty good is called a ball. So in the hole, 3-1 is Wardrop.
Thomas Lahnert consistently topside high with that level of pitch at the letters. So you got to bring that one back down and get it starting a little bit lower and have it explode out of the zone to tantalize. But also a bit of a waste pitch at times for Wardrop. Lots of pop on the rise.
So a 2-out walk to Malcolm Lim brings up the cleanup hitter, Gerald Tan. Gerald Tan and Jaron Tan, the only Tans related on this club.
Here's a guy, Lance, that's hit in the 4 spot all week long, 3-4 hitter, and only 2 hits in 9 games. So when your middle of the order is not producing, that's not a good sign. And, you know, generally we'd see a shakeup, but Gerald Tan been in that 3-4 hole all week long.
And I think you're right about that, Kyle. It's certainly reflective in the standings and your record when you got your cleanup hitter who remains your cleanup hitter and he can't seem to hit the ball. So 3-0 snap throw down. That is definitely in time. So a good throw down from Taylor Shibata gets Malcolm Lynn leaning and Canada out of the inning. And no runs across. 1 runner left aboard and through 1 complete. We are scoreless here in Whitehorse.
And that's the last out of the first inning. At the bottom of the first, we had no runs, no hits, no errors, and no runners left on base. In the game between Singapore and Canada, we're still no score. À la fin de la première manche, il n'y avait aucun point, aucun coup sûr, aucune erreur et aucun coureur laissé sur les buts. Toujours aucun pointage entre le Singapour et le Canada. official vehicle provider of the championship. For all your rental, sales, and leasing needs, visit drivingforce.ca. Driving Force est le fournisseur de voitures officielles pour le championnat du monde de softball masculin. Pour tous vos besoins de location de vente, visitez drivingforce.ca.
So as we move into the top half of the second inning, Canada and Singapore in our first consolation round game here at the 10th ISF Junior Men's Championships from Whitehorse, Yukon. Kyle Smith, Lance Wynn, and our special guest here for the second inning is the executive director, I guess the brand new executive director, Ron Radagonda. Thanks for your time, Ron, and we know you're busy here this week, so we do appreciate your time.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Pitch comes in for a strike as opens up does Edward Lee. So about 9 days on the job with the ISF?
Yeah, so it's kind of new, but it's exciting. I'm really thrilled with the opportunity.
Good way to start your first week on the job at a World Championship.
Absolutely. It is just great with the teams here and a chance to talk to the teams while they're here. Great organizing committee, so it makes it a great first month on the job.
Coming in, the background that you bring, of course, just retiring from the ASA softball organization. Retirement didn't last too long for you.
Yeah, about 6 months. So it was it was good. I got a lot of honeydews done at home, which probably put me in good stead with my wife. So hopefully I can continue that as well.
So a lot of familiar faces, I'm sure, for you coming back to the ballpark and joining up with the ISF.
Absolutely. This is my fourth trip to Whitehorse. I was here for the junior men's. I was here for the women's, and then we did a special event with when I was with USA. We came up here and played Team Canada up here on the women's side prior to the World Championship. So it really kind of helped get the stage set for great World Championships that they held here.
So as the executive director, your job more so on the day-to-day operations, overseeing probably a lot of fundraising and generating interest, and I mean, of course, probably surrounding the inclusion of the games in the Olympics, trying to get that back on the schedule.
Yeah, truly, it's the day-to-day operations that I will take on for ISF, and that includes, marketing and broadcasting and sponsorships and the operation of the championships and the events that are run, and working with National Olympic committees and all of the things that go on. I mean, we're really lucky to have President Dale McMahon from Canada as the new president of the ISF, somebody who spent his life in the game. Really cares about the game, and I'm expecting that you're going to see the ISF progressing forward in the coming years because of the leadership that he'll bring.
So a pop out on Josh Elliott brings Marc-Andre Villeneuve to the plate as Canada and Singapore knotted up in a 0-0 ball game. Game number 1 of the consolation round, being joined by Rod Radagonda, the new executive director of the ISF. That pitch will miss for ball 1. A very rare opportunity in the ISF. You mentioned about Dale McMahon coming on as the new president and yourself coming on. So a big change of scenery and a big change of senior management, I guess we could say, at the ISF level.
Yep, there'll be it is a change of management, but I mean, I think a lot of things will remain the same.
That one going to fall in, and in the second goes Marc-Andre Villeneuve.
But the structure of the ISF really hasn't changed. I think there'll just be a new focus in some of the things that we do. I really am looking forward to the opportunity to make the World Championships, take them to a higher level. I've been to a number of them in different countries, and I think that there's some things that we can do to make the World Championships even bigger than they are now. They certainly are the highlight of a softball player's career to be able to play in a World Championship.
So with one down, a runner on second, and now Matt Pilon will come to the plate. Down the line, just foul. So now when you talk about making them bigger and better, I mean, that's everybody's goal, right, is to always improve the events. What things do you have in mind? I mean, I know now with the open process, you no longer having to qualify, it will allow a lot more teams to attend. But what do you have in mind? Like, do you have anything specific that you're looking at right away?
I think the first thing is that we should see more teams in the World Championships, and I think that's really healthy because there'll be teams that have not had the opportunity to qualify to get to a world tournament that will now be able to do so. That'll bring notoriety in their home countries to the sport. you know, that's the thing about growing the sport is you really need to have the notoriety back home for all the teams. And I think that's really one of the most important aspects of the Open Championships is having the ability to have more teams compete and bring that message back home that, you know, that the world of softball is healthy and that the competitions are great.
That pitch will miss for a ball, 1-2. So you go from here, you'll head back to the office for a period of time, and then, of course, the senior women's comes up in Haarlem, Netherlands. So another good opportunity for you to reconnect with some old faces because there's some different teams at the women's games than that are here this week.
That's true, and then also having the championship in Europe, there's the European Softball Federation, which is the group that manages the European softball. With about 25 member countries, many of their leaders will be in Haarlem as well, so that's a great opportunity to sit and meet with them at that time.
So 2 balls and 2 strikes with Pilon at the plate. Runner on second in Villeneuve, and that one going to roll foul. Day-to-day operations is covered by you. When you're here at these events, technical meetings will take up some of your time at the front end of the week, meeting with different softball federations.
Right, exactly. That's you know, the first thing that you do is you have a technical meeting to go over the rules and handle the coin flips and the home and aways and all of those things that take place. But use the rest of the time to actually sit down and try and talk with leaders of the various countries and really get a better feel of what it's like back home in their local programs.
That one going to get fouled off. We briefly touched on, of course, probably one of the most hot button issues, and that's the Olympics. Just missed the vote to get back in London. The next vote comes up for the 2020 games in Japan. A lot of voices behind, of course, with the joint venture with the International Baseball Federation. Bring everybody up to speed on where we are in that. I know there's a special meeting with the new IOC president as well. He's very interested. Walk us through kind of the next period here for softball.
Well, you know, in the famous words of Yogi Berra, it's deja vu all over again. I guess is the best way to put it, is the fact that, you know, I think a lot of people don't understand that when softball actually got into the Olympics in the 96 games in Atlanta, it was really done outside of the Olympic charter. What had happened was in 1989, Atlanta was selected as the host, which is the 7-year out rule that they have, where they take and pick the city, and they also pick the sports. Softball didn't get into the Atlanta games until 1991. It was actually 2 years later. Juan Antonio Samaranch, as the then president of the...
That one going to get lifted out, but not far enough, as overstrides Benjamin Lim for out number 3. So that'll end the inning, strand that double, and we'll continue our conversation here with the executive director of the ISF, Rod Radagonda. But you're saying about the Olympic inclusion in Atlanta?
Yeah, so what happened was Juan Antonio Samaranch, as the president, was able to go back to the next meeting of the IOC, and through working with the Atlanta Organizing Committee, they actually accepted a sport within the 7-year window, which is, as far as I knew, was unprecedented. And softball got into the games in Atlanta, which was the first time that we were able to compete. So where we are right now, they've picked Tokyo. We're now inside that 7-year window, and it is our understanding that this issue of baseball and softball is going to be brought up to the IOC at their meeting in Monaco in December. So we're holding out hope that there's going to be an addition to the program in Tokyo, and that softball and baseball will be included.
Would you say that this is the best opportunity, the fact that with the games going to Japan, and Japan very well versed in the game of baseball and softball? The world champs at the last one here in the Yukon, and Team Japan in baseball very dominant at times. Do you think it's the best chance right now?
It certainly is a big plus for both baseball and softball to have Tokyo as the host for 2020, just because of the fact that all the facilities are built, so we're not talking about having to put a lot of money into the infrastructure to host a baseball softball event, plus the fact that Team Japan in both sports is very strong, which would lead to them wanting both sports in the games as well. So yeah, we look at this as being a really good opportunity to get included back in the games.
That one comes upside for ball 1. Back to the World Championships. There's a lot of venues that have spoken for, a lot of revisits to Canada. The next time the World Juniors will convene is in Midland, Michigan in 2 years. Saskatoon next year for senior men's, followed by a return trip up here in 2017 for senior men's. Senior women's this year in Haarlem. and then they'll go to Oklahoma, your old stomping grounds.
It's the juniors that'll be there next
Juniors
year.
in Oklahoma next year, in
Yep.
your old stomping grounds. The bid process and Spoken Championships open opportunities for maybe some federations watching back home?
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. I mean, we had, the bidding for the junior men's that will be held this next time this tournament is held will be in Midland, Michigan, a city that's hosted world championships in the past, a real hotbed of fast pitch in the United States, a good organizing committee that really has their act together on pulling together this event. But there was a bid from Mexico and a bid from New Zealand at that time. So there was actually other bidding cities that were trying to get this junior men's event, which is what we hope to see. I mean, you always want to see it be competitive, and our situation going forward is hopefully we'll have all of the continents represented in bidding for championships, and we're real excited about the qualifier for the Pan Am Games and for the men's next time around will be held this October in Argentina.
So a hotbed down there, as we all know, and Jian Yi will stand at the plate after the leadoff walk by Gerald Tan. Just misses to the inside edge. We'll let you go on this. Coming in brand new with the appointment. The future looks very bright. How do you build on that and keep that momentum going with some of these great championships that we saw in the last couple years and moving forward?
Well, I think the big thing, hopefully, the big push will be towards better communication among the federations around the world. That will definitely help our program.
And on the tag, going around into third, Gerald Tan got hung up after the bunt by Jian Yi. So infield single for Yi. And around to third, gun down 3-5.
So I think we want to improve communication. We want to build a structure that is conducive to bringing more firms in to be a part of a marketing and sponsorship opportunity through our sport. Looking to broadcast more of the championships and actually feel like we have that opportunity to provide a good marketing platform for companies to be a part of softball. So we're looking at that. We think that the sports travel industry is very healthy, and this championship is one that shows how healthy a sports travel business can be for a city, and we want to try to encourage cities to be out and bidding to host our events because of the number of fans and spectators it can bring along with the team. So I think that those are the real initiatives right away going forward, and I think that we're going to be very successful going forward.
Well, Ron, we appreciate your time. We know you're a busy guy, and winding down your first championship as executive director. Thanks again. Safe travels. All the best, and we'll see you around the ballpark.
Appreciate it.
Ron Radagonda, the executive director of the ISF, brand new to the job, but the future looks bright and in great hands with himself and Dale McMahon at the helm of the ISF. So with a walk and a single, off and running, throw down, bit offline, and the foot to the bag of Jian Yi will put a runner up to second. So Andrew Tan strikes out in the process. Down on strikes he goes. So 2 down in the inning, but a runner in scoring position here for Sei Kien. As we look for our first run here, it was the second inning, it was the third inning yesterday when Singapore pushed 2 across. Still running with Canada here as that pitch comes in for a strike. And as Lance said a bit earlier, as the week has gone on, Singapore has elevated their game. Misses for ball 1. Called for a strike, so Sei Kien falls down 1-2. See if they go back to that rise or the hard drop to the inside back foot. They come with the rise, and it gets fouled off. A lot of movement to war drop pre-delivery. Ball 2. Maybe a few steps in on the wings are the outfielders with Sei Kien choked up on the bat. Down and away, goes with it. Pike away. Made that one interesting, little short arm throw, but the third out, down goes Singapore. They'll strand that runner with the single. We'll come back with the top half of the third on Sports Canada TV.
And that's the last out of the second. At the bottom of the second, we had no runs on one hit, no errors, and one runner left on base. At the bottom of the second, we still have no score in the game against Canada and Singapore. À la fin de la deuxième manche, il n'y a eu aucun point, un coup sûr, aucune erreur et un coureur laissé sur les buts. Le pointage est toujours Canada 0, Singapour 0. Super Save is a proud supporter of the 2014 Junior Men's World Softball Championship. The #1 fence rental and propane supplier, Super Save provides for all your special event needs. Super Save est le fier supporter du championnat du monde de softball junior masculin. Le fournisseur numéro 1 de frappane et de location de clôture du Yukon. Super Save fournit pour tous vos besoins d'événements spéciaux. Leading off for Canada in the third.
So as we head now to the top of the third inning, and of course in yesterday's ball game between these two teams, following a similar script. This was the inning that there were some runs pushed across, if I'm not mistaken, Kyle.
Yeah, it started with the 9-hitter, and then Tyler Paulai actually had a big home run yesterday to wake the bats up, and then pushed 3 more across in the inning to make it a 5-2 game at that point.
So conveniently enough, Tyler Paulai to lead things off here. He walked into first and was gunned down trying to score from third on a wild pitch. So Canada looking for a bit of a spark. And that pitch lifted high into the air, settling under it, Andrew Tan, and he hauls it in for the first out. So that'll bring up Nick Penner. Important for Canada not to start putting too much pressure on themselves, to try to generate. Go up there, relax, try and hit the ball hard.
Well, you could see it yesterday. They were gripping the bat a little bit tight, but the third inning they kind of loosened things up. And this, though, the first time that Edward Lee's gone through the order twice now, second time through.
And that's a hard one hopper. Tan, nice play over to first in time. So Andrew Tan getting lots of work this inning. And a quick start for Edward Lee. 2 outs, and Taylor Shibata will step in. He popped out to second in his first at bat. You worry that Canada comes in as favorites, and the longer they go without pushing a run across, as that ball is lifted deep, deep and into the gap, making a run at it. They collide, rounding second and into third. Rounding, coming home, and the throw is in time. So gunned out, trying to stretch it to an inside the park. Looks like Benjamin Lim is down there in that collision with Ivan Tan. And the entire Singapore team is going to race out there to make sure he's okay. From our vantage point, the collision looked like a severe one, but maybe and hopefully just shaken up. Bit of confusion. And it looks like both fielders are okay as they get a round of applause. And you could take a look there. Sometimes when a ball's hit right between the two, the adrenaline's going and you don't hear one call off another. Bottom line, that's center fielder's ball. Either way, more when we come back here from Whitehorse.
The ISF would like to recognize Mizuno as the official supplier of softballs and umpiring uniforms for the 2014 Junior Men's World Softball Championship. Mizuno is the only softball used in the ISF World Competition. At the top of the third, there were no runs, no hits, no errors, and no runners left on base. We're still scoreless in the game between Canada and Singapore. À la moitié de la troisième manche, il n'y a eu aucun point, aucun coup sûr, aucune erreur et aucun coureur laissé sur les buts. Toujours aucun pointage dans le match entre Canada et Singapour.
So welcome back as we head to the bottom of the third inning. It appears Benjamin Lim is okay after that collision. Shaken but not stirred. It'll be 8-9-1 for Singapore here. Wayne Toe to lead things off, followed by Benjamin Lim, and then back to the top of the shop in Joshua Tom.
I think the saving grace there, Lance, is the fact that they're about the same height with each other. So you're not running into elbow or head-to-head. You're and off center, but that might be the only saving grace. I'm sure a little banged up.
I agree, and you're right about that. Sometimes if you get a one fielder larger than the other, you got to sympathize with the little guy. He usually gets it, but this time looks like a no harm done. 1-1, missing outside. So with this Singapore team, might be in Wardrop's better interest not to have to be so fine. Maybe just work up down the zone and get him to chase something as a swing and a miss. It's not like Singapore has been lighting up the hit parade. We'll see. Most of them actually are choked up, and if you look at Toe, he's really choked up on the bat. And that one's fouled off. And that should, of course, be a sign for the outfielders for Canada to move in a bit. Choked up that much on the bat, you're not going to lift anything probably up and over the fielder's head. Might as well play shallow, because at very best, you're going to drop one in no man's land in shallow outfield. And nibbling, and there's a strike. So Toe is down, looking for the first out of the third inning.
Well, you talk about that hit parade, Lance. Just 36 hits as a team. That includes the one here this afternoon. 205 at-bats.
So my math is very weak, but I know that's not a good percentage.
A team 176 coming into this.
Hence an 0-9 record, and yes, he did go around, did Benjamin Lim. So we're still scoreless here as we're in the bottom of the third inning. Swing and a miss. Big loop and swing came up empty. So maybe Wardrop is starting to get the idea, if he just works the zone a little better, that he can get these Singapore hitters to chase. And Nibbling had a notion. Appeal down. He did not go this time. And that pitch working both sides of the plate to even a count at 2-2.
Lim yesterday, Lance, was 0 for 3 with 2 groundouts and a strikeout, both to the second baseman on the dirt.
And again to the second baseman, fielded nicely by Josh Elliott over to first in time. So 4-3 in the scorecard will take us back to the top of the shop in Joshua Tom. Tom was caught looking in the first.
Well, and for Singapore, and you talked about what you'd like to see Wardrop do, work down and up, For Singapore, you have to take better chances on the quality pitches that he's going to bring to you.
Well, you're right, and you look at the bottom of the order, and they're not overly aggressive as far as, well, they're not power hitters, so they're slappers, which of course kind of defeats a bit of the purpose when you're looking for something or extra bases or anything along those lines when you're working with less than 2 out.
The other thing you could look at and say is get aggressive early in the count.
That's Squibbler over to Wardrop, the first in time. Tie of the side, and Kyle will pick up that thought when we come back for the fourth. Scoreless here in Whitehorse. We'll be back in a moment.
And that's the third inning. With no hits, no runs, no errors, and no runners left on base. The score is still Canada 0, Singapore 0. À la fin de la troisième manche, il n'y a eu aucun point, aucun coup sûr, aucune erreur et aucun coureur laissé sur les buts. Le pointage est toujours Canada 0, Singapour 0. All 54 games of this championships are being webcast live around the globe, free of charge. You can link directly to them through our official website, worldfastpitch2014.com. Tous les 50 matchs de ce championnat sont diffusés gratuitement sur le web. Vous pouvez les lier directement de notre site web, worldfastpitch2014.com. Leading off for Canada in the fourth. Le premier bâton pour le Canada dans la quatrième. Le numéro 15, number 15, the left fielder, le voltigeur de gauche, François Charles René.
So back here for the top of the fourth inning. 4, 5, 6 hitters for Team Canada. It'll be Francois Charles René, followed by Curtis Pikeaway and Josh Elliott.
For Canada, we talked about Singapore getting aggressive early in the count. That's what Canada has to do right now. Start attacking the pitches, going after that, and Edward Lee works into the fourth. He had Canada befuddled yesterday through 1 and 2.
There's a single up the middle, so a leadoff hit courtesy Charles René gets the ball rolling on cue.
I don't think he'll get another pitch all day. Now, after yesterday's game and today, they intentionally walked him his first plate appearance.
And he goes up swinging at the first pitch and calmly grounds it up the middle for a base hit. So Curtis Pikeaway, he drew a walk in the first inning. And he squares a beautiful bunt to move the runner, barehanded and thrown away down the line. So runner's going to advance to third and promptly getting the stop sign at third. So Pikeaway with a sack. I think we'll have to call that an error.
Oh, for sure. E5.
So we E5 that.
No chance for Sakian on that one.
None whatsoever. And Charles René is now at third base, representing the first run of the ball game for Josh Elliott. We'll see if Pikeaway is sent from first as that pitch missing up.
We've seen it before in Singapore and how their defense sets up. Pull in Andrew Tan in this situation. Runner takes off. Tan going to cut behind the pitcher's mound. He'll probably take it at the top of the circle on the throw.
Well, they learned that after a lesson they got from New Zealand where they laid back. The second baseman played back, and they ran that play and promptly scored a couple of runs. So good to see Singapore making the adjustments, and they've made that adjustment over the course of the last couple of days. It's a play in fastball that if you do not know how to defend it, a run will almost always come across to score. Squaring, looking, and taking is Elliott. And the count now 2 balls and 1 strike. And missing up. So Edward Lee having a little bit of trouble with his control with runners on. And when you look at the inning, you got to figure as the game goes on, if Canada cannot push a run, the pressure is going to be on Team Canada as they are favorites. And you hope that they're able to handle that pressure as that pitch catches the inner part of the plate.
Elliott with a bit of a look back towards Thomas Lahnert as he danced off the plate.
And that never bodes well for your next pitch, I find, as a hitter. Three-two pitch, too far inside, so they're all loaded up. And it will be Marc-Andre Villeneuve with a chance here to get Canada on the board.
Villeneuve had the double in the second inning, Lance. So a big spot here for Villeneuve.
Well, Canada with only 2 hits, and one of those, of course, belonging to Villeneuve, as he looks at a ball inside.
Big spot for Canada, bigger spot for Singapore with nobody down and the bases loaded.
They do have some work to do here. Infield drawn in tight. And that pitch misses out. So a good hitter's count here, 2-0 for Villeneuve. And probably a good time for a bit of a conference, just to sort of regroup and give Edward Lee a chance to take a breath, settle in a bit, and see if he can't come back and throw some strikes.
Just break the tempo up is all you're trying to do here.
Bounced into dirt, so 3-0. Lee in jeopardy of walking in the first run of the ball game. And missing low, so first run of the ball game is courtesy Edward Lee as he walks Marc-Andre Villeneuve. And Canada leads 1-0.
Lee getting a little too fancy trying to use his painter's brush, painting those corners. Just have to come after these Canadian hitters as you've done thus far.
So here comes the center fielder, Matt Pilon. And that's a hard hit ball. That's going to go for a base hit. 1 run's coming in to score, rounding third, and the throw cut off. 2 runs in on the RBI double from Matt Pilon.
Pilon this week has come through big for Team Canada at times. He came up big in the Czech Republic game with that game-saving, game-ending catch as he reached over center field that way back a week and a day ago. Seems like forever. But Pilon does the job with the 2 RBIs.
So that will move Villeneuve to third. Pilon standing on second. And Johnny Baker, the hitter. Baker flied out to end the second inning. I'm sure he would love to cash a couple here. 2 more would go a long way, I think, to settling the red and white. That pitch in there for a strike.
And Johnny Baker with lots of pop in his bat, so he can change this complexion in a hurry.
And the 0-1 pitch misses inside to run the count even at 1-1. Lance Wynn, Kyle Smith, the rest of the Sports Canada TV crew, glad to have you with us here. This the first consolation round game. The winner to face Mexico later today. That's a one-hopper, and it goes through the wickets. 1 run comes in. Rounding third, but getting the stop sign, edging his way down to draw the throw. So an RBI single for Johnny Baker. Cashes in another. And Canada continues to rally, leading 4-0.
RBI single or an error on that play through the wickets.
I think you're right, Kyle. That's got to be a Bill Buckner. And score that an E4. So no RBI. Joe would get mad. And back to the top of the shop now, and Tyler Paulai. So more ducks on the pond for Team Canada to cash with nobody out here. And similar to the way things have gone this week for Singapore, they at times are able to hang in there. But usually when that first snowball hits the top of the hill, it creates that avalanche for them, and it's usually a deficit they're not able to climb out of. Behind in the count now, 2-0 to the leadoff man, Tyler Paulai. Paulai walked in the first and popped out in the third. And a ground ball foul.
Paulai leads the team with 28 at-bats, now 29. Just 2 walks at the top of the order. So it seems, as I said earlier, it's all or nothing with Tyler Paulai at times this week.
Well, you're right. He's hitting the ball, not necessarily drawing the walks, but definitely doing a solid job at the top of the order. Problem is consistency. And as a leadoff man, the more consistent you are, as you can see, a little bit of cat and mouse there. Not sure why. You go that halfway because you want to draw that throw. If not, you take that base. That's why you're doing that. And really, when you look at it, Matt Pilon should even be off third a bit.
This is where Canada has to put their will on top of Singapore and start to drive in more runs and look for more.
That ball lifted up to shallow left field, coming in on the run, and a good job out there by Zhen Yi as he used good footwork to catch the ball on the run and get it in time. Pilon not able to score on the play. So Paulai out, and it'll be up to Nick Penner now to add to the Canada total. 4 runs already pushed across here in this inning. And that ball misses down. And I think when you have a team, Kyle, that's coming in 0-9, I think you need to put pressure on their defense. Obviously, they're 0-9 for a reason. You pressure that defense and you force them to make the plays. A team like New Zealand, doesn't matter who you are, they force you to make the plays.
Baker still standing at first base at this point. Just send them in motion, get them down to second. If they don't throw, you got 2 runners in scoring position for the meat of the order, 2, 3, 4 hitters.
I agree.
And if you give up the out, run's going to score.
And I think that's what you're trying to accomplish here. Missing up in the zone is Lee.
But maybe a little gun shy after a couple throwdowns and runouts. But with just one down in the inning, take the base. If they give it to you, you got two, as I said. If not, you're probably going to take a 5-0 lead if the runner at third, P. Lawrence, heads up.
And that pitch will miss out. So Penner works a walk. And that'll bring up Taylor Shibata. It was Shibata that hit that towering drive into the right center gap in which Ivan Tan and Benjamin Lim collided. Unfortunately, Shibata was cut down at home, trying to extend that to an inside to Parker. Looks like there will be a change, and it's going to be Jaron Tan who comes in to relieve Edward Lee. Scary, Kyle, that I don't need to check the lineup card or anything to know exactly who everyone is on this Singapore squad. I think I've been their personal broadcaster this week, and that's okay with me.
You like Jim Flanagan in Team Denmark, myself with Team Canada.
And we're all going to be quite active in the consolation round, aren't we?
Yep.
So that will do it for Edward Lee, as he surrendered 4 runs. Canada, though, with the bases loaded, and it will be Shibata we'll get a chance. So a big chance for Canada here, Kyle. You have to figure that, okay, with 4 runs pushed across, that's great. Now you got to go for the knockout punch. You've got the bags loaded with just 1 away.
Yeah, absolutely. This is where I talked off the top for Canada, and not trying to overlook Singapore, but realizing what Singapore has to offer. You try and limit your innings and get out of here early because you have a game coming up later on this afternoon. So you want to try and be as fresh because this is likely the lineup you're going to see.
That ball lays foul down the third base line.
Because it's win or go home now in the single elimination bracket. Stands, Lance, starting to fill up as more and more people get ready for the championship bracket. Our next game is Japan and Australia, and the way Australia's hitting right now and the way Japan's hitting, we could turn into a 13-12, 14-12 ball game.
That's a possibility, Kyle. Or it could be a 1-0 ball game because the pitching's awfully good on both sides. But both teams hitting out of the ball. And that ball is going to hit and drop for a base hit on it quickly as Ivan Tan. 1 run comes in. So a good job by Tan to get on that ball and limit Shibata to a single. Collects another RBI and cashes another Canada run. 5-0 the score. And the bags are still full. So that'll be back to Francois Charles Rene, who led off this inning.
And he was a Singapore killer yesterday, as we said earlier. But you can't intentionally walk him here. You got to pitch to him. So good thing for Canada, not so good maybe for Singapore.
So it looks like the bullpen going to work for Canada. And that ball-hearted shot, nice play at first base, and then the play home, trying to dive over. Not in time, so a good defensive play from Singapore is going to end the inning. And the Canada threat, but not before. Team Canada pushes 5 runs across. And as we do the slide to 5, we head to the bottom of the 4th. The score, Canada 5, Singapore 0.
third out at the top of the fourth. We had 5 runs on 3 hits, 2 errors, and 2 runners left on base. The score is now Canada 5 with Singapore coming up at bat. À la moitié de la quatrième manche, il y a eu 5 points sur 3 coups sûrs, 2 erreurs et 2 coureurs laissés sur les buts.
So as we head to the home half of the fourth, it'll be Ivan Tan, Malcolm Lin, and Gerald Tan for Singapore. 5 runs pushed across by Team Canada to take the lead.
Leading off for Singapore in the fourth.
And Kyle, we spoke between innings about Team Canada and maybe having sent the runner on that Shibata hit might have been the way to go. And I think the adage was that you put a little bit of pressure on the defense to make a picture-perfect throw.
Well, Canada aggressive to start the ball game on the bases, sending runners around and being thrown down at the plate. So maybe a little gun shy, but like you said, put the pressure on, apply the pressure. If you're out at the plate, it's just 2 down. You still have runners in scoring position and the meat of the order coming up. But Jim Jones maybe a little shy on sending him around after the first couple of putouts, but got to force the issue.
So Tan here with a 1-1 count. Just want to remind all our viewers, plenty of action, including Czech Republic taking on Denmark in the other consolation round. Japan, Australia to follow this one. That will certainly be a good one. Mexico will play the winner of this game. And it's Argentina, New Zealand, the 1-2 game. That's at 6 o'clock, followed by Team USA, and they will face the winner of the Czech Republic, Denmark game. So make sure you're here on Canada TV, sorry, Sports Canada TV, as down goes Tan swinging for the second time. And that'll bring up Malcolm Lim.
5th strikeout today for Matt Wardrop.
And despite trying to be a little fine at times, Wardrop seems to have settled in just a bit, not wasting a whole lot of pitches.
Well, from where we sit, looks like there's a lot of good movement from Matt Wardrop today. You talked about the bullpen was getting ready. Wardrop actually was out there just keeping loose after the bit of a longer inning for Team Canada in the 4th.
And a swing and a miss way late on that hard fastball by Wardrop. And that pitch in tight. Two balls, 1 strike. And that ball's laced up the middle for a base hit. So a sharp single from Malcolm Lim, his first hit of the ball game. And that will bring up Gerald Tan.
Second hit on the day for Singapore, and it went right back from where it came from Wardrop. Good piece of hitting by Malcolm Lim, his second time on the bases today.
And they might want to consider moving Malcolm Lim into the cleanup spot, or at least Andrew Tan, who swings the bat what appears to be a lot harder than Gerald Tan. Gerald choked way up on that bat, something you don't often see from your cleanup hitter. The higher you choke up on that bat, the better bat control you have, but you lose plate coverage and you lose power. As the New Zealand faithful start to trickle into the ballpark in preparation for their ball game, as that pitch misses down. And you notice the way Gerald Tan is really crouched at the plate. Can't get a whole lot of power generated through the zone when you're crouched that much, as you spend time popping up instead of going forward towards the ball.
Well, you hit it right on the head, Lance. As he's swinging through, he's coming up. And the harder thing to do is have a level bat swing. You're moving, everything's moving, and with that pitch coming across, you're going to miss it 9 times out of 10.
And there's that 9 time out of 10 as you turn the K the other way for the second out. And Genyi will step in. He's 1 for 1. He's got one of the 2 Singapore hits. And a good changeup there from Wardrop as he froze Genyi. And that pitch in tight. Beautiful day in Whitehorse. I think we're really appreciative of the cloud cover at this moment, Kyle. I know how things get probably a couple hours from now at the, or sooner. You'd know much better than me.
We might see something around 3 o'clock. It seems to be the time here on Diamond 1. And then at around 8:30, the laser beam will come into the booth.
As the runner goes and the throw is in time. Great job to lay down that tag by Josh Elliott. A better throw from Taylor Shibata. So Canada out of the inning, just what the doctor ordered. 5-0 in favor of the red and white. When we come back here on Sports Canada TV.
And that's the third out of the fourth, the last out of the fourth, actually. At the bottom of the fourth, we had no runs on 1 hit, no errors, and no runners left on base. Score is still Canada 5, Singapore no score. À la fin de la 4e manche, il n'y a eu aucun point, un coup sûr, aucune erreur, aucun coureur laissé sur les buts. Le pointage est toujours Canada 5, Singapour aucun pointage. Air North, Yukon's airline is the official airline of the 2014 Junior Men's World Softball Championship. Visit flyairnorth.com to book all of your travels. Air North, la voie aérienne du Yukon, est la voie aérienne officielle du championnat du monde. Visitez flyairnorth.com pour réserver tous vos vols. Leading off for Canada in the 5th. Le premier au bâton pour le Canada dans le 5e. Le numéro 24, number 24, the third baseman, le joueur de 3e but, Curtis Pikeway.
So as we do the slide to 5 here, conveniently enough, Canada leading 5-0. They'll send Curtis Pikeway, Josh Elliott, and Marc-Andre Villeneuve, the scheduled hitters for Team Canada. As Pikeway looks at a called strike from Jaron Tan, on in relief of Edward Lee. Lee surrendered 4 runs, and I guess you would tack him on for that 5th as when Tan came in, the bags are full. That ball's driven out to right field. That's going to fall in for a base hit. So Pikeway may have found his groove and his swing. And that might be just in time for Team Canada. So Josh Elliott, he popped out and walked and scored a run in the 4th. Now, do you lay this one down, Kyle?
Yeah, I think so. You play a little small ball. They have all day.
That pitch misses down. I agree with you, and I think regardless, Singapore hasn't shown that they can consistently field the bunt. They've thrown one away already. So I think, again, similar to what New Zealand did to Canada a few days ago, they really put the pressure on their defense. They laid 4 consecutive bunts down, and Canada, the corners, would not field it. They allowed their pitcher to do it, and of course, you know that's never a good thing. And, sorry, they exploited that. Go ahead, Kyle.
The other thing, corner infielders playing well back.
And that ball is a one-hop hard single out to left field. So that courtesy the hard infield And back-to-back hits will send up Marc-Andre Villeneuve.
After yesterday's rain, yesterday here on Diamond 1, things were a little bit softer, so a little bit of a slower track. But this Diamond all week, as Lance said, has been the faster of the two infields. Hard hit balls result in the high hoppers that I don't think you saw over on Diamond 2 this week.
And a majority of time that I spent over in Diamond 2, as that's a good bunt, front of the plate, over to third in time to get the force. Almost too good a bunt, as Villeneuve really deadened that. So gun down at third is Pike away. Elliott at second, and Villeneuve will be at first for Pilon. Over in Diamond number 2, that hasn't even remotely come into play. There hasn't been a bounce higher than chest high through the entire tournament. As that's a tough hop, as Tan blocks it and no play anywhere. Everyone's safe. And I think that might have got Andrew Tan right in the midsection, and as he was trying to catch his breath, because breathing's kind of essential. I think that kind of slowed down the throw, and that allowed Pilon to make his way to first. And I think it'd be a good idea to go check on him, as he took that in the midsection.
Actually, they're going to go out and check with the umpire to see if he went around him on the base paths. But you have to establish the tag attempt, because there really is no, and everybody always thinks it's a direct line from base to base. You actually have about 3 feet on either side of the on either side of the fielder after they initialize the attempt on the tag. So when they go to tag, you still have a bit of room to go around before you get called out for off the base path.
So a little bit different than what you see down, say, the first baseline, where you have the other line to kind of keep you in that lane.
Well, you still can go outside the lane if the play's not on you, but if the throw coming from the catcher on that bunt by Villeneuve, if he throws to first, you have to be within that 3-foot chute.
And that shot down the line for extra bases. 1 run comes in to score, 2 runs come around. RBI double for Johnny Baker. And man, he lifted chalk all the way up that line to keep that ball fair.
Nice line shot. You put it once, it hits again just for good measure. Easy call for Thomas Launard at the plate. And as Lance said, 2 runs come in on the hard hit double.
So 7-0, Canada leading. And that ball's driven out deep, 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 and that ball's gone. Home run, leadoff man, Tyler Pauly. And his stick has woken up the rest of Team Canada.
Well, Pauly can be sleeping and look like he's having one not so good day at the plate, but all of a sudden his bat will awaken. We saw it yesterday, and he drives that to the power alley in right center. And he'll make this now a 10-0 lead.
So Team Canada on track here. And it'll be Nick Penner now trying to keep the rally alive after that home run, as that pitch is up around the ear hole. And I'm sure no ill intent there, but I imagine that Jaron Tan might be a wee bit frustrated. Either way, Team Canada bats awake, as they have responded after putting 5 up in the 4th. They've put up another 5 spot here in the 5th. And that ball's driven out to center field, so the hit parade continues. Penner with his first hit of the ball game. And the rally goes through one more time, as there is just 1 out in the inning.
Going to see a pinch hitter here, Lance, for Team Canada.
That looks like Zach McKay, who is going to get a chance to hit. I'm sorry, and that's Zach McKee. I stand corrected.
Kai like sky.
Oh, Kai, like the sky. So Mackay. So a wee bit of a delay here, as it looks like we're going to have a new pitcher in Marcus Chu. He's going to come in to relieve Jaron Tan. So trailing 10-0, Singapore may be figuring this could be their last ball game of the tournament and trying to get their pitchers some work as Marcus Chu takes over.
Well, Canada ran the gamut of pitchers yesterday. The only one who threw yesterday that we haven't seen yet today is Alan Lowe. He was the pitcher where Canada pushed 5 across in yesterday's ball game.
So Mackay steps in to pinch hit for Shibata. Team Canada has exploded for 5 runs and doubled up their lead from an inning ago and lead 10-0. So that will mean that Singapore will be down to their final 3 outs if they cannot push across 4 runs. Big swing and a miss from Mackay.
Well, Mackay yesterday, Lance, scored 2 runs, a walk, a double, and a ground out for his day. So he hit the ball hard. And maybe one of the most level swings Team Canada has. Everything seems to come through level, no matter up or down. He has that habit and the ability.
And that pitch bounced in the dirt. And a walk to Mackay. And Marcus Chu has had some solid outings later in the tournament. Early in the tournament, he struggled with his control. So Francois Charles René now, he's had himself a very busy ball game. He was walked intentionally in the first, singled and scored in the fourth. And then it was that weird play where it was hit out to the gap in right center. The fielders collided. Of course, Charles René decided, well, the coaching staff decided to send him from third, trying to score all the way, and he was gunned down at home. That pitch nibble, but missing outside to run the count to 2-0. This, the 9th hitter of the inning. Chu's in there for a strike. And missing again, so back-to-back walks from Marcus Chu as the bases loaded again with just 1 out. So that'll bring up Curtis Pikeaway. Pikeaway singled, was out on a forced play at third for the first and only out of this inning. So not bad. You're coming up for your second at bat of the inning, and you were out after reaching base on an error. Sorry, after singling in the 5th. Reached base on an error in the 4th and scored a run. And sometimes, Kyle, when you're after a slow start in a tournament now, you're in a sort of the second tournament, you're in the consolation round. You get a couple of hits, and that can go a long way to setting the stage for your comfort level for the rest of the day.
Oh, for sure. And when you turn around quickly, like what Canada will, because they'll play again later on this afternoon at 5. That will be the Mexico game where they take them on. So a quick turnaround, and you hope that the bats stay hot, but you want to get this one done soon so you get a bit more than just an hour of rest.
So in good position to do that, as Pikeway has run the count to 3-1. And again, the knock on Chu has been controlled. Now, mind you, Marcus Chu, in case you didn't know, is that pitch is lifted up and just drifted foul. Marcus Chu's only 15 years old. So this invaluable experience for him. I imagine in a couple of years he's going to be potentially the mainstay of this club.
He could very well see 2 more cycles here at the junior men's, depending when his birthday is.
That pitch is out to left field. Under it is Yen Yi, and no advance on the runners. So Pikeway flies out, and that'll bring up Josh Elliott. Elliott singled and scored this inning. I think right now Canada just a little bit more focused on defense. No need to worry so much about offense, even though you do have the bases full. At 10-0, you got to figure you're going to be able to hold that lead and shorten the game regardless. But you never tell a hitter to go up there and don't hit the ball.
Especially when the bats are going like they are. Want to keep things consistent. Swing at good pitches.
And you've done Canada all week, and as per our recaps and our discussions, they haven't had that hitting the entire week.
Yeah.
So if you kind of lit a fire underneath them, you want that fire to continue burning for at least one more game today.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I mean, you call off the Dogs a bit now at 10-0, but you still want to swing, like I said, good pitches, good swings. Don't develop any bad habits here as the game progresses.
And Chu misses down. So it was quite a ball game last night between Australia and the United States. I think we expected it to be a little closer as Chu walks in another run. So an RBI for Elliott won't get much easier than that. And strolling in will be Penner.
You know, something we haven't talked about is, as this game's gone on, is the late substitution on Bedard Desmarais was listed as the starter. And Penner got the start, as we heard, an injury. Not sure what that entails, but for Samuel Bedard Desmarais has played in all but one game here this week, maybe all but 2, and we'll have to try and get an update or keep our eye on that as today wears on.
As that's a squibber. Tan over to first, just staying on the bag was Sekian. So Singapore mercifully out of the inning on a ground ball out by Villeneuve. And that will be it, but not before Canada strikes for 6 more. They lead 11-0. 3 outs to get for Team Canada as we take a break here in Whitehorse.
The score is now Canada 11 with Singapore coming up at bat. À la moitié de la 5e manche, il y a eu 6 points sur 5 coups sûrs, une erreur et 3 coureurs laissés sur les buts. Le pointage est maintenant Canada 11 et Singapour se présente au bâton. for Singapore. Maintenant, bâton pour Singapour. Le numéro 39, number 39.
Back here as we continue our slide to 5, Zhen Yi, Andrew Tan, and Sekian. Last hope for Team Singapore as they trail 11-0 in what could be a run-shortened ball game. Matt Wardrop has found a bit of a rhythm here. He seems to be looking awfully sharp in the last couple of innings. And a good changeup, but it misses down to run the count even at 1-1. Of course, Yanni's been sporting that full football face mask the entire tournament.
Actually, Lance, he even wears it out in left field as well. Has a cage that he wears like the pitchers do, and some middle infielders we've seen in recent months and years.
Not quite sure what the injury is that it must have occurred to make him have to wear that as a preventative measure.
I mean, more than likely probably had something happen, a ball come back at him if he was an infielder or playing outfield. I mean, possibly a ball hop up and take you in the chops.
Well, sure. That's usually when you have that face mask, it's because you've had some sort of face injury, whether it be your jaw, mouth, teeth, or eyes, or potentially nose, usually the case. Either way, Zhen Yi with a walk to
Nope,
lead off.
actually just ball 3, the umpire says.
Okay.
So Zhen Yi a little premature on getting down to first.
He was tearing down there like he had earned that free pass. And a squibbler. And the throw not in time. So a walk either way, a single instead. Has Zhen Yi on to lead things off here in the 5th for Singapore. And again, I can't understand why you've got a guy choked up like that, but yet on the corners you're back so deep, knowing that a majority of these hitters like to lay it down.
And they're not making a lot of hard contact either, so it's just gonna, we've had a bunch of squibbers here for Singapore. Make that in-game adjustment as you wear through.
Andrew Tan now. And Wardrop misses to run the count even at 1-1. It's just little things like that. When you look at the top teams, Argentina, New Zealand, those corners are in tight all the time. Until you hit one by them, that's the way they'll be. They're almost an intimidating and imposing too, as they stand almost sometimes level with the pitcher. And all you see is those guys breathing down your neck. As that ball bobbled at third. So Pikeaway not having an ideal inning, as we will have to score that an E5, allowing 10. And between innings, we happen to mention, Kyle, that Canada, with some issues closing out games, either way, Sekian now. And if you're going to be in tight for anyone, Sekian and Wayne Toe are the two that you should do it with. As the runner goes, leaning, snap throw down to second, not in time.
Canada did that yesterday against Singapore, the throw down to second in the last inning, and it ended up costing Canada 2 runs as it skipped away. So Shibata likes to throw that down, but in an 11-0 ball game, we're just looking for outs here.
Swing and a miss. My opinion, you don't even throw that ball down.
Yeah.
That run means nothing. You play for outs right here, right now. Concentrate on the batter. As Sekian fouls that one off. Sekian is grounded out in the second. He'll be followed by Wayne Toe, and Wayne Toe struck out. So it's not like you're worried about getting to the meat of the order or getting to 3 or 4 hitters that are able to hit with some power. So go right at this hitter and don't worry about the base runner. As missing outside is Wardrop. Count 2-2. But now, I mean, we can sit up here all day, Kyle, and say they should do this and they should do that. And maybe the coaches are saying the same thing as Sekian chases one in the dirt for the second out. A lot of times you can say something, but it just doesn't get through, as it looks like it'll be Niels Applin who will pinch hit for Wayne Toe. Told you I knew that lineup, Kyle. Sorry, I may have said there was 2 out in the inning, but I'm looking at my card and you're right, there's 1. So a bit of a conference there, and the change has been made. Niels Applin comes in to hit for Wayne Toe with 1 out and 2 men on. Canada with some leeway here, so there's no sense in being overly careful. Just go right at these hitters.
Well, you just stated the game plan that has got you to this point. Been aggressive in the counts, worked up in front of hitters pretty much all day has Wardrop.
I think that's been one of the reasons that he's settled in so well. He started off where he was behind on each of the hitters, and as the innings have gone on, he's started to jump out ahead. And alluding to what you said off the top about comfort level for him, he tends to throw better when he's ahead in the count. And I know you said all pitchers do, but there are some pitchers that enjoy pitching from behind. Well, I won't say enjoy, but they're certainly able to manage it. That ball is lifted up and will drift foul. So, sorry, go ahead, Kyle.
Well, I was just going to say the lineup cards have come in as we reach the hour mark prior to our next game, Australia versus Japan, and the pitching matchup is going to be a good one. Okazaki Kento for Japan and Jay Silu will take the mound for Team Australia. So really no surprises there, Lance. You go with the aces, but you never know with the DP switch. Keep your eye for Callum Bichel, but I think Wei Silu pitched last night. He gets the start today for Team Australia.
I agree with you, and of course, Okazaki Kinto has been not only one of the best pitchers in this tournament, but certainly one of the best hitters. It's Haruki Kinjo, who is the leading batter in the tournament, I believe. And you, of course, Kyle, can correct me on that. So it'll be interesting to see how these two red-hot teams match up. The 2-2, good off speed, and that's poked out into center field. And 1 run will come in to score. So an RBI single from the pinch hitter Niels Applin has Singapore on the board, cashing in Zhen Yi, and the score now 11-1.
Now batting for Singapore.
Just flick the wrist at that one, pop it out into the gap, and you get a run across on the board.
And that ball's a slow roller, thrown away by Penner.
How don't you have interference on that? I was going to say, there's the out call. They do get the out. When the contact happens with Penner, you have dead ball situation interference.
So Andrew Tan is out. That will be the second out of the inning. Runner in Applin goes to second, and Benjamin Lim is at first for the top of the shop in Joshua Tom. And I wasn't sure about that play. I figured that Penner didn't fall on his own.
Good play by Nick Penner to time that and get in the way of that runner. Make contact.
And Tom looks at a ball. So Canada certainly needs to improve on closing, as there looks like a bit of action in the bullpen. Wardrop falling behind 3-0.
Marc-Andre Villeneuve, the DP, warming up. Just in case we need to slow things down.
And that pitch misses, so a walk to the leadoff man, Joshua Tom, will load him up with 2 outs for Ivan Tan.
Something I've started to notice, Lance, is it might be coincidence, but the runner on second starting to pick signs here on Team Canada, some hand gestures at times with location.
Interesting, Kyle. We'll certainly keep an eye on that. And I don't know how you feel about that. In my opinion, you're cheating. That's just my opinion.
But if the catcher's not working a sequence and they're just making things easy, any advantage that you can get, it's part of the game, and you got to hide your signs better.
I hear you as that pitch is fouled down the first baseline.
Generally, what you'll see when a runner gets to second is the catcher will walk out and talk to the pitcher with indicator, or if we're going to work on the second, third, first sign, whatever we're going to do there. But definitely want to work on that to hide your pitches and locations.
Ivan Tan got a called strike. So in the hole 1 and 2 now. Down to their final strike, Singapore. And missing down to even the count, 2 and 2. Not a bad pitch from Wardrop to be a little careful and waste one. Sometimes you can get caught up in a little bit of ego where you just want to strike them out, and that pitch is called a ball. So it will be a full count. The runners will be on the move here with the bags full. And that pitch in there for a called strike 3. So Wardrop, despite giving up the run, and Team Canada looked awfully impressive from, I'd say, about the 4th inning on. That will do it for this ball game here. And your thoughts quickly, Kyle, before we head off. Team Canada, how they look heading into their game against Mexico.
Well, I think the Bats have continued from the game yesterday where they put up 8 runs, 11 runs here. You take in stride and take with maybe a grain of salt the fact that you're playing the weaker Singapore team. So you should put runs up on the board. But good pitch selection, taking the pitches they're given, driving them to the outfield. The Bats starting to come around. Matt Wardrop threw a great ball game for Canada. The one thing that maybe concerns me a little bit still, closing out ball games and going after hitters. Stay with what got you to the point with the 11-0 lead. Bury the team when you have the chance and work on your actions and limit the extra innings that you have to pitch for a pitcher.
Well said, and as we continue our coverage here, make sure you stick around. It'll be Japan, Australia in a little bit. Don't go away.